Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, item 4, the consent agenda, which will be tonight's agenda, and the minutes from 5/28 and 6/2 and 6/16. Do I have a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Smith. Second, Commissioner Ingram. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. All those opposed.
Wait a minute, Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
there's some inaccuracies.
All right. Let's read what you got, Mr. Claggett.
Page 4
Okay,
of June 16, 2025 minutes are incorrect. It was Ms. Sharp that responded to my question, not the deputy county manager. And page 7 of
Okay.
June 16, 2025 minutes under commissioner comments should read consensus results should be a part of the meeting minutes. Both errors are verifiable by viewing the meeting video. North Carolina public meeting minutes are considered legal documents. Thank you.
all right. I have a motion to approve as corrected. So a motion by Commissioner Smith, second Commissioner Ingram.
Yep.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Announcements and recognitions. We'll start with you, Mr. Claggett,
I have none.
Mr. Ingram,
I have none.
Mr. Rose.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I'd just like to recognize our first responders and the workers from the Department of Transportation. They did an excellent job within the last 24 hours responding to all of the flooding that we've had across the county. Earlier I spoke with the fire marshal. I think we've got 5 roads that have sustained severe damage and are closed. Luckily, we have had no fatalities and no reported injuries due to the flood. And I'd just like to thank the ones that have been out all night working, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Smith.
Yes, sir. I'd just like to mention that over the last week or so, we've had 60,000 square feet of steel building delivered to Pelham Industrial Park. So that's project, Cherokee project's one step closer to reality.
Mr. Totten.
I'm good.
Mr. Holt.
No.
And I'll just echo Commissioner Rose's comments. Recognize DOT, firemen, sheriff's department, EMS. I know several of the volunteer fire departments were out all night last night because they were a little slow this morning when I saw them around, didn't get much sleep. Appreciate all they do. Public comments.
Mr. Chair, we have one speaker, Mr. Kyle Warren Love. And as you come up, let me just point you to our rules about speaking. So please state your name and whether or not you're a Caswell resident. Speak directly to the full board. Be courteous in your language and presentation. Personal attacks will not be tolerated, and the commissioners and administration won't respond during your comments or during the same period. And most importantly, comments are limited to 3 minutes.
Thank you. All right. Hello, y'all. My name is Kyle Warren Love. I use he, him pronouns. I'm trans. I am the Caswell chapter coordinator for the Health Collaborative. Born and raised in Caswell and raised by Caswell, and still currently living in Caswell to notch off my things. I am here today on behalf of the Caswell Community Councils to extend an invitation to all of our neighbors to attend National Night Out on Tuesday, August 5th from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Caswell County Parks and Recreation Center in Yanceyville. National Night Out is a fun event to help encourage the community connections we need between first responders and the community. That includes police officers, EMS, firefighters, 911 operators, anybody who helps us when we call, when we need help. This will be an afternoon of free fun, bounce houses, cornhole, food, and backed by popular demand, a dunking booth. Specifically, I would like to invite each of the county commissioners to sign up to participate and be dunked in the dunking booth. I'm holding for y'all to hop up and say yes. Okay. Either way, I hope y'all and anyone and everyone in Caswell will attend this fun and connecting event just to have some fun with each other. The community councils are excited about it. I'm excited about it. And we hope to see y'all at National Night Out on August 5th from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, that's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, we do have a few action items for tonight's meeting. First one, public hearing on solid waste ordinance amendments. Mr. Whitaker.
So our solid waste fees have been discussed at length during our recent budget deliberations, specifically or in relation to the availability fees, and significant changes were proposed, involve fee structure adjustments, multifamily properties, exemptions, good neighbor provision, and requirements of contracted waste collectors. And this public hearing was advertised June 18th and July 2nd. And our solid waste director is here to answer any of your questions. And if you would like for him to present these changes, I think they're pretty clear in the packet, but you may have questions as we go through. If you'd like for him to come to the podium, be glad to do that.
Do I have a motion? We go into a public hearing, solid waste ordinance amendments.
Motion to go in public hearing.
Motion from Commissioner Rose. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Smith. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. All those opposed? And now set as a public hearing. Is there anyone here with any public comments concerning solid waste ordinance amendments? Do any of the board members have any questions for Mr. Fickery?
I have one, Mr. Chairman.
Hey, Jeff, if you would come up.
This might be a question for you. Has anybody contacted you or heard anything that NCACC be taking some kind of legal action if we approve this?
As it relates to the solid waste ordinance amendments? Not as it relates to this particular document, Commissioner Holt, but I believe during the budget negotiations, there were some issues and some concern from the town of Yanceyville about duplicate fees. And there was some discussion and a comment from the town attorney, Mr. Lee Farmer, to myself, but it was my understanding that those issues were resolved between the town manager and the county manager.
That's correct. We had a really positive meeting with Mayor Foster and the town manager.
Any other questions for Mr. Fickery concerning the ordinance?
And if you would like for him just to hit the highlights
That'd
for
be
the
fine.
proposed changes.
Go ahead, AJ, hit the high spots.
Good morning, good afternoon. Yeah, excuse, sorry.
And
about
maybe from that, just that summary page that I have on the screen there, that kind of hits the
that. So the current ordinance has that if you have any other private service, you would have the availability fee taken away.
removed from your tax bill. As y'all passed in the budget ordinance, everyone pays the availability fee, and they would have the disposal fee as we have separated, removed. So that's the fee structure. Multifamily, also in the budget, when y'all were discussing it, you decided to charge multifamily trailer parks per lot or per dwelling for the availability fee. Trailer park would pay per lot, apartment complex would pay per apartment. We also come up with a disposal fee exemption process, and that is in your packet to review. Under the good neighbor, we just clarified some of the things to make them have approval before people can bring them, such as, if they say they clean litter off the side of the road or somebody dumped, they would have to have approval than it just them saying that. And also under the paid contractors, we added that they have to provide a list to the county. We have one contractor that currently serves the county that will not give us a list. They used to, the owner sold or passed away, and the current owners will not give us a list. So we need that list so that we make it easier on the citizens and on us ahead of time before the information is placed on the tax.
Any questions? Gentlemen, I got one, Mr. Speaker. If this particular hauler is not willing to provide a list of Caswell customers, how you gonna handle that one?
So, I mean, if you put it in the ordinance, then they can't,
They have to provide.
they would have to provide or they couldn't operate.
Okay, good enough. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Question for you, Mr. Whitaker. Since we've already approved the budget and the fee structure, is there any action we have to take other than just having a public hearing?
I believe that's the only action.
All right.
So there's a suggested motion there in your packet, and we would just be, if that were to be approved, we'd just be updating that in the ordinance.
Where's the motion, Frank? All right, since I have no questions, do I have a motion? We go out of public hearing and back to our regular meeting?
Who moved?
Have a motion from Commissioner Claggett. Second from Commissioner Rose. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. We now sit back in regular Board of Commissioners meeting. All right, the motion, and I don't see it for some reason. Mr. Whitaker, could you read the motion here to us?
I've got it right there on the screen at the
Oh, I'm
bottom.
sorry.
There you go. Put it there.
Okay. Do I have a motion that we approve the solid waste ordinance revisions to chapter 26 of the Caswell County Code of Ordinances?
So moved.
Have a motion from Commissioner Smith.
Second.
Have a second from Commissioner Ingram. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. All right, item 8, Department of Juvenile Justice Probation Lease.
So you have seen these leases before in your packet, and by general statute, the county is required to provide office space for probation officers, which is a state function. And what you have before you are actually 2 offices at our Guilford Mills location, and these leases would be for 3 years, would begin August 1st. It's a continuation of the existing leases there in Guilford Mills. And there is a question or one area that our attorney's not fully comfortable with that he can address. And if you were inclined to do so, you could make a motion of approval contingent upon those changes.
Go ahead, Rose.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I would direct your attention to paragraph 8 of the lease agreement. And the language in paragraph 8 states that the lessor shall be liable to the lessee for any loss or damages suffered by a lessee which are a direct result of the failure of lessor to perform an act required by this lease, and provided that lessor could have reasonably have complied with said requirement. So ideally, I would prefer to see language in the agreement that directs, addresses the situation in which the lessee actually causes a loss or damage to the county, to cover the county on that end. I don't see any language similar to this in the entire agreement that would protect the county. So I mentioned that to the county manager before the meeting. So I have a concern with that, but everything else in this agreement looks straightforward.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Scott, is this a renewal or new lease?
It's a renewal.
Okay.
I have questions.
No.
This, building is the one over here where everybody is that right?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
IT is, those things, is that the building about?
Yes.
Okay. If, stop me if I'm wrong. Was there a big amount of money asked for? Fix elevators and fix all things over there in that building?
That would have been before my time, and I'm not aware of that, and our attorney or deputy manager would have the answer to that.
I don't know, Mr. Holt.
Tony, do you remember? Tony,
I'm not sure.
Do you remember?
I guess my question would be, if we're leasing it, why are we subject to fix it?
I'm sorry, Commissioner Holt, what's the
If
question?
we're leasing the building, why are we subject to spend all that money to fix it?
They're leasing the building from us, correct?
It is just those two rooms inside the building.
Those whole buildings, what you're talking about?
Leasing it from them.
Yeah, pursuant to general statute, the county is required to provide accommodation for the probation offices, and the county is required to provide that office space at the county's own expense.
Any other questions?
And for clarification, these items were included in the adopted budget. So it's no additional expense related to the leases.
Do I have a motion? We approve this lease with the modification that was brought up by the county attorney.
So move.
Have a motion from Commissioner Totten,
Second.
second from Commissioner Rose. Any discussion? You don't see, any reason, Mr. Johnston, that the changes you mentioned would be a problem as far as,
Not
For the
that I'm
county.
aware of.
okay. No.
And if they aren't agreeable to it, if you motion to approve it contingent upon agreeable changes, and then ultimately that's not worked out, we could bring it back at the next meeting if we needed to.
Yeah, because I believe the term of the lease
3 years.
starts August 1st. So
We would have time. We would meet again before then. If some reason they wouldn't agree to the changes that you've
Right,
recommended.
but if you wanted to make it contingent upon a solution agreeable to our attorney, that would be appropriate, I think.
Yeah. So we have a motion to approve it with the changes that county attorney has recommended. Motion from Commissioner Totten, seconded by Commissioner Rose. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. The NCACC Annual Conference Voting Delegates, Mr. Whitaker.
So the Commissioners' Conference coming up in August will be as far as commissioners go by Commissioner Smith and Commissioner Ingram, along with myself and Deputy Manager Williamson. And they are asking for a designation of a single voting delegate and then an alternate to that to vote on matters that come before the membership at the conference. So it does need to be one of those two that will be in attendance, obviously. So open that up for your discussion.
So,
Mr. Chair.
yes, sir.
Commissioner Ingram and I had a discussion earlier today, and I will be the delegate to the NCACC, and Commissioner Ingram will be the alternate.
So Commissioner Smith will be the voting delegate. Commissioner Ingram will be the alternate if for some reason Commissioner Smith couldn't be there.
So it would probably be most appropriate to memorialize that in a vote.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the appointment of Commissioner Smith as the voting delegate for the NCACC Annual Conference and Commissioner Ingram as the alternate?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion from Commissioner Rose,
Second.
second from Commissioner Totten. Any discussion? All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Carry, excuse me. Item 10, support letter for Milton's SEID grant for water improvements. Mr. Whitaker.
So the town of Milton is wishing to install a secondary well pump house and upgrades to their existing water lines. And they are seeking this specific grant. It's in partnership with PTRC, and it's through the Southeast Crescent Regional Commission. It's called their Strengthening Economic Infrastructure and Development, or SEID grant. And they have requested a letter of support. So I drafted such a letter for your consideration that's in the packet. And in essence, it is a county show of support for their application, and be glad to modify that letter if there's a problem, or of course, it's up to you if you want to support that by letter of support.
All right, gentlemen, you see the letter there that county manager has drafted in support of town of Milton's SEID grant. Had a chance to look it over. Do I have a motion to approve sending the letter or approving the letter?
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Smith,
Second.
second from Commissioner Ingram. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Okay. Now into discussion items. 11 is the Enbridge Pipeline Project. Mr. Whitaker.
So of course, this is a pipeline project you've been talking about for quite a while. Finally getting closer to some activity on that. And this topic relates to access road and easements that they desire that would be just inside our county landfill. And specifically what they're asking for is an extension of the existing right-of-way for the pipeline itself, then a temporary construction easement, and then permission to construct a permanent access road to access this pipeline. And it's specifically from that section running from Foster Road to 86 North. And pull this up on the screen just for you to have a better visual of where we're talking about. And what you see from the highway is this is, make sure I'm acclimated right here. Okay, so you've got your pipeline here. You got the access from the highway that comes in, and this is the proposed access road down the property line of the county's site. And again, this is the proposed, well, the gas line here that they would be expanding. And so far what they have done is they have proposed what you see on the screen as the access area. They have made an initial offer of consideration for that access. And as part of that, and again, we do have our solid waste director here to answer questions, but there will need to be some improvements made, and specifically that relates to gate access, because the service folks for the pipeline could be coming in, after hours, during hours, anytime they would need access. So there's a desire for some control in a couple of key locations for these gate improvements. And I do know that we've got at least one solid quote on those improvements. But as we've talked a little bit more about their initial offer, we feel like there's room for some negotiation on that dollar amount. And what I wanted to do this evening was just introduce the topic, let you see the visuals of where exactly that road will be. And there are some benefits to having this road. I've got those listed, and per our solid waste director, it would allow our landfill staff to access and monitor both sides of the pipeline corridor. It would serve as a secondary fire break, helping to protect neighboring properties if there were a brush fire. It provides some additional access point to the compactor and closed areas of the landfill, which could be critical if there were an emergency there. And as I've said, on the other hand, it also necessitates some additional gates and improvements, and it's going to involve some construction out there when this happens that'll be inconvenient for our landfill operations and the public coming in and out. And really this evening, again, just wanted to introduce the topic, see what questions you might have. We have met with a representative. They do plan to have someone here to answer any questions you have at the next meeting. And we wanted to start this conversation as far as the location of what they're proposing with that access road.
All right, gentlemen, you've heard Mr. Whitaker's comments. What questions do you have?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
Is
sir.
that 86? Highway.
Yes, sir. Right to the far right, yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Scott, is this a paved road or compacted gravel?
My understanding it would be crusher run, but if you've got further clarifications about that, please come and share that.
Be crush and run or railroad rock, whatever they had to access to get to the pipeline. It would not be any pavement down in the woods going to the pipeline.
Okay.
So maybe a little bigger than crusher run.
Yeah. So like railroad rock is normally what they put on access roads like that, because they have big trucks and trailers, back trucks that'll run across it.
Yeah. What you normally do, you put the big rock down first and then you put the small rock on top of that.
Yes, sir.
So smooth. Okay. Very good.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
if I understood correctly, they're talking about buying this property, the right of way? Or is
That
it-
access, yes.
It's not a lease.
No.
Okay. Can you go back to that picture? What does that do to that area, below the road up there at 86? Does it cut it off or it never be able to be used later?
AJ,
Yeah, just to the left of that.
So where are you speaking at exactly?
Basically all the area below the road right there that you're to 86 back to where it turns. Yes.
So their access road will come off of the landfill road around the area. If you've been there where the compactor is, and it'll go in the woods there, it won't cut off any of our access to where our recycling is or the county impound lot or anything like that. And they're gonna be off the property line, but go along the property line down to the pipeline. And the
So-
county owns land on both, currently owns land on both sides of the pipeline now.
So is it fair to say that this turn into the end of the road is between, sorry, is between the impound area and then the weigh station right here?
I would say so, but let me, give me 1 second.
You turn just after where the impound area is, but it's before you get to the scales.
Correct. So you're gonna turn left. If you come in the landfill, you have the first driveway to the left. The second driveway to the left, they're gonna come through that driveway and enter in kind of behind the compactor. They wanted to come beside the compactor when they were talking. I didn't agree to that because there's too much public traffic there for them to be right there. So they need to come in the driveway and go around to access it. So we do not interrupt the public's normal day of operation or our normal day of operation.
Well, we have permission to cross that. We have permission to cross that, or do we have to ask for that every time?
So I would assume we would have permission since it's crossing our property. And then we could have it put in the agreement, I would assume, but I think the county planner may have a comment on that.
So my understanding, this is an easement, so they will purchase the rights for the easement. However, they will not own that.
Yeah, they won't own the property.
Okay.
So we
Right.
will maintain ownership of the property that could purchase right of access through that easement.
That's what I was thinking.
It's not on the screen, but I have a GIS picture. I'm happy to walk up and show y'all if you want me to. And it shows you where the scale house is, the compactor and stuff. That may make it a little easier, if you want to see it. I'm happy to walk down the line. That's up to you, county manager, chairman, whatever you'd like.
Good, just easement.
Anybody want to see the GIS map?
Uh,
All right.
Mr. Whitaker, couple things that I've looked at on this. I know you said that they've made an initial, I guess, on the temporary easement. But I think you did, that there had to be some upgrades to some gates. And I think it's there's going to be upgrades to 2, correct?
That's correct, sir.
Just from me, I have no problem with that, other than I would like to see the upgrades to these gates at no feasible cost to the county. But with that being said, I would also like to see, right now, the initial gate going into the landfill is a manual operated, so you have to unlock it with a key, open it up. And if they've got an issue inside that pipeline that they're dealing with, either if somebody from the pipeline goes through, they're gonna have to lock them back because our landfill stuff is inside of that. Or they're gonna have to have somebody stand at that gate letting people in and out. I would like to see some type of automated gate there that, when they came in, if there's 8 or 10 trucks, I think that would be the most feasible thing to do. Plus, we wouldn't have to have our staff there dealing with anything after hours.
So the proposal, quote that we got for the main gate would be, half of it would be manual. In case the electronic failed, we can still get through. The other half will be electronic, push button in, push button out, code or remote. And then the second gate, to protect them from going to the backside of the landfill, because I cannot see that on video camera, would just be a push button electric in and then an eye to let you out. because there's no other way to get in, and it would just be an arm to stop them from going to the backside. But, and also when they move the gate will be moved up the road just a little bit, and it will have wire, barbed wire and stuff tying into the woods or the embankment to keep somebody from just stepping over it or walking around it. So it would secure the road a lot better.
Thank you.
Are they going to be responsible for road maintenance?
To their access road?
Yeah.
I would assume so, but that's something we would have to get to make sure that we put in their contract.
They would be I'm not saying that we wouldn't use it, but they would be the main beneficiary.
Sure nobody's coming in from the other side of the pipeline, trying to hunt or come onto the property. You could be able to tell if somebody's got a continuous path. We would just take a UTV down it, go down the pipeline and come back out. We wouldn't be driving no trucks or anything down it unless there was an emergency.
Many more questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
do we know what the width of the existing easement is for the pipeline?
I think only what we have right here, and it's small. Let me see what we can discern from that. Might get our planning director to find that.
Is it 50 foot?
Where are you seeing that?
Right down at the bottom, you're just about on it.
They're gonna have additional 75-foot construction. From our
See.
So, you said it was 50 foot now, the right of way is, and they want an additional 75? Okay. Yes, sir, Russell.
Mr. Chairman, just to follow up on Commissioners Holt's concern about the county reserving the use of the easement, there is a paragraph in the easement which is titled Grantor's Reservation of Rights. And it states that grantor reserves the right to use the property and easement area for all purposes that do not unreasonably interfere with the rights granted herein and that are not inconsistent with the rules and regulations of the North Carolina Utilities Commission.
And is it fair to say in layman's terms, with an easement like that, for instance, they couldn't bring in equipment and leave it on that access road so that it impeded movement for our landfill operations? Because while we would retain ownership, that easement is for them to access. And by the same token, we couldn't leave it blocked and prevent their access.
That's correct.
So I will say that when I spoke to them on site, they have been very good to work with to let me know when they're coming to do their surveying or looking. Now, of course, it'll be a different group doing the construction, but we'll try to pertain that rapport with them. But they were also going to add a gate at the pipeline that would be double locked. One lock we would own key and access to. One lock, they have a universal lock that they put in all gates that they go through that are not electronic, so that we could get to the gate, unlock it, and go up the pipeline on our property and come back.
And you said that a representative from Enbridge would be at our next meeting. am I
Would be
correct?
here at the July 21st meeting.
Any other questions, gentlemen? All right, AJ, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item 12, Sheriff's Office Training Facility and Firing Range MOU changes. Mr. Whitaker.
So of course, this isn't a new topic, and just to remind everybody, it was approved at the last meeting following some additions of memorandum of understanding, waiver of liability, et cetera. After that approval, the sheriff's office indicated the desire to have a different MOU and standard operating procedure, and our county attorney has looked at that. That's, I put in your agenda packet both what you approved last month and the proposed changes, and I'll be glad to put them up on the screen, but if our attorney would like to speak to the changes.
Go ahead, Russ.
Yeah, yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. So since your last meeting, I've had conversations with Sheriff Durden as well as Chief Deputy Melissa Poole. And they expressed concerns about the waiver in the original agreement. And they indicated that they were not comfortable asking the officers to sign a waiver just because they are on a firing range. Training is line of duty, and officers are covered by the county insurance when they come to work every day, and they should be covered while they are training. So I reached out to Melissa Williamson about the county insurance coverage of sheriff's officers, and I want to thank her for doing research on that. And we received, so the questions we posed to the our insurance underwriter is, the first question we posed was, will both the facility and the county employees, deputies, participating in training be covered under our current insurance policy while using the firing range? Question number two, if the sheriff's office allows external agencies from outside the county to use the range, would they need to sign a liability waiver or agreement to ensure the county is not held responsible for any incidents or injuries that occur during their use? And the response we received from our senior underwriter with the county risk group is the response indicated, yes, use of a firing range by county deputies for firearms training would be covered under your insurance policy. You will need to add any property structures to the property schedule once complete and or ready. A waiver may be a good idea, especially if there is any outside use by private entities. Workers' compensation coverage would be excluded for outside entities. There may be some liability coverage available depending on the nature of the claim or loss. So in analyzing the original MOU that this board approved at your last meeting compared with the MOU that has been presented by the sheriff's office, there's the language is quite a bit similar to the original MOU that the board approved. But the only concerns I would have is that I would like to see language that requires communication between the sheriff's office and the county manager. In the event there's an incident of a safety incident or an injury at the firing range, I think it would be a good idea to have the sheriff's office communicate that to the county manager, as well as scheduling whenever the sheriff's office plans to be present at the range. It would be prudent to involve the county manager, just to give the county manager communication of what's going on county property.
So you're okay with the sheriff's department's, their MOU with those changes you just mentioned? Am I hearing you right, Johnson?
One second, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
And while he's looking at that, just to speak a little bit to what he just said, I'm not interested in any kind of micromanagement of the sheriff's office. It's just, I think it would be a good idea if I, especially no more than they have said that they would likely be using it. It's not like this is every week. It would be good to know when the sheriff's office will be out there, just so that will be on our radar.
Right.
So to answer your question, Mr. Chairman, yes, sir. I believe what the sheriff's office presented is reasonable, but I do think it will be prudent for there to be communication between the sheriff's office and the county manager.
So, Mr. Whitaker, we need to, if the board so choose, approve the new MOU, am I correct?
Well, that's one component, and then I'll put it up on the screen also. You have a second phase that our attorney can speak to related to their requested policy and procedure that's different.
Go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
Well, Mr. Chairman, yes, sir. A lot of this language in the policy and procedure mirrors your original agreement. So I'm satisfied with this proposal as well. And I think it would be prudent for the board, if it's in your discretion or in your choosing, you can make a motion to approve both of these documents.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I know during the last meeting when we discussed this, we mentioned not exceeding a certain decibel level. We talked about including that in the MOU. Is that something that we overlooked or decided not to do? Or where does this stand?
Commissioner Smith, it's my understanding that item was discussed, but it was not voted on in the final motion. That's my understanding.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
help me out, Russell, well, I understand it now, what we're getting ready to vote on. If it's an outside, police department, that's not a Caswell County employee, they have to sign a waiver.
Well, the MOU that they have presented has language in it that states the facility shall only be used by Caswell County Sheriff's Office employees and shall not be intended for use by the general public. So it's my understanding the way they presented it, this will only be for Caswell County Sheriff's Office employees.
If I remember, Mr. Durden was talking about the other police departments. Cause he said, it's not use theirs and we not open it up if they need to.
Commissioner Holt, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Normally, actually, what happens is when Caswell County uses another range, when they go to the range, there's no waiver. However, if an incident happens outside at whether it's Rockingham, Alamance, Person, or whatever, that follows our officers, what I'm talking about is Caswell County, which means if someone comes from another police department to use this range, the same thing happens as well. Their county itself handles what happened in this county.
The insurance follows the officer off-site, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Well,
I mean, and just from my experiences of over 30 years and probably going to 100 ranges, I've never had to fill out a waiver in reference to someone or me going to someone else's range, because that's always been covered at that point. Didn't matter where I went. If something happened where I was at, then my insurance followed me there. And that would be the same thing as if another agency came to Caswell County, same thing happened. That's just my thoughts on that.
So, Mr. Chairman, Section 3, Paragraph E of the proposed MOU states that the facility shall only be used by Caswell County Sheriff's Office employees and shall not be intended for use by the general public. And Commissioner Holt, I do recall discussion about external agencies utilizing the shooting range. However, I do not believe that was a part of the motion. If I recall correctly, there was discussion that if the sheriff ever wanted to utilize external agencies, then that's something that could be brought back before the board at a future date, if I recall correctly.
I think you're correct on it, Mr. Attorney. Because there was discussion on it, about letting outside agencies come due to the fact that we have mutual aid agreements with them also. But I think the sheriff, I do remember him saying that if he could get this done, if it's just his department, he would be fine with that. And if he elected to have an outside agency, he would have to come back to the board for our approval for that.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
going back to the decibel levels again, I don't know what this may, but I understood that we're going to go back and put that in the MOU. I know we voted on it, passed it, but I thought we made a note that we would include that because the public hearing, I mean, we told the surrounding neighbors and landowners that the decibel level wouldn't exceed 65. But without that in the MOU, then what assurances do we have of controlling that?
So if you look to the screen, I've got the minutes from last month where we talked about that. You can't read that. Vice Chair Rose spoke about decibel readings. He asked the sheriff to perform decibel readings using the number of firearms that would be fired at one time, which came in lower than the operations of the facility. Asked the county manager to look at the issue with other departments to come in to train and have a form agreement and liability arrangement. And then back to that specifically, Commissioner Smith added that the MOU should include that decibels cannot exceed 65. And then Attorney Johnson will need to make a modification to the MOU regarding the decibel levels.
Can you scroll down to actual motion?
So the motion was to approve the construction, the training facility and firing range MOU contingent upon state and federal approval. So that, I think to your point, did not make it to the motion.
That was my understanding. From what I recall, Commissioner Rose had made the motion to approve the MOU as presented. However, if that's something, if the board feels strongly about the decibel readings, that's certainly something we could address now.
Jason, what was those decibel when they were taken?
Anywhere from 5 to 58.
All right, and that was without a berm and without any type of vegetation. Thank you.
What's the pleasure, gentlemen? Do we approve the sheriff's department MOU and policy with the recommended change from the county attorney? Or do you want to go back and make sure that that decibel language is in the MOU or was open?
I would like to see it included.
With the request to consider new MOUs, I think you get a do-over on your original motion. So if you want, I say that to say that if you want to add that, I believe that would be appropriate.
All right, do I have a motion? We approve the sheriff's department MOU and policy with the changes recommended by the county attorney and the 65 decibel language included in the MOU. Does that suffice? Gentlemen?
As long as we're clear that when you say the changes presented by the attorney, you meant in reference to some
Notifying.
communication
Yeah.
with the county manager. Okay.
Yes, that was the only changes you recommended, wasn't it, Russell?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that the sheriff's department will notify the county manager and that the decibel readings will not exceed 65. Do you have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Smith. Do I have a second?
A second.
Second from Commissioner England. Now, any discussion on the motion? If I hadn't muddied the waters enough, I'll try to get it now. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of approving the Sheriff's Department MOU on the firing range and the policy and procedures with the changes outlined by the county attorney in regards to contacting the county manager and the inclusion of the 65 decibel limit, let it be known by saying aye. All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. All right. Item 13, the Animal Protection Society Animal Control Shelter Contract. Mr. Whitaker.
So this is another topic we've been talking about for some time, particularly during the budget deliberations and the work sessions. And in essence, the county has not really maintained a contract for animal shelter services, but it has maintained a good working relationship with Animal Protection Society over the years for those services. So the desire here is to put a formal contract in place, and that's what we have been talking about partially because late last year, APS notified us that they would not be able to provide the level of shelter services that they have been providing and at the same county allocation. So in this past budget year, their allocation was $174,125 that was paid out on a monthly basis. And they originally proposed moving that amount to $305,000. Talked about this in the work session, and a number that was communicated this spring to them as a potential number that could likely be supported in the budget. And what was ultimately adopted in the recent budget was $225,000. So obviously that's a difference of roughly 51,000, much less than what they originally proposed as their allocation, and again, quite a bit more for the county. And so we have been in deliberations with their board by way of board member and attorney Kim Steffen, and we've been having meetings about a formalized contract, and we're still working through that draft, and hope to have one to you at the July 21st meeting for consideration. And there are some differences with kind of where we are from the standpoint of animal control operations and what they would like to see in a contract, and that's part of the challenges of working through that. They did say in these deliberations when I communicated that I thought 225,000 that was put in the budget was likely as far as the county would be willing to go. They did propose some other financial considerations. So when I say that, examples are, well, we could probably come up with a contract for 225,000 if the county could also do A, B, and C related to our facilities. And those were maintenance, some construction, various things that they feel our facility needs for solid operations of the shelter. And I haven't given them a formal answer on your behalf as to your willingness to consider that. I have had some feedback that you most likely would not be willing to go past the 225, given that it's 51,000 more than last year. And you can direct me and our county attorney further this evening if you would like to regarding that. But if not, we're we will maintain that 225,000 is the maximum financial contribution. And I think it's really just a matter of working through the details of this contract and what they would like to see operation-wise versus what we can do by ordinance, by county ordinance that we currently have. And I won't get into any of the details until we have a firm contract to bring to you as a draft, but I'll just give you an example just to kind of let you know what types of things we're talking about. For instance, APS wasn't happy with the way our animal control department cleans out their traps there at the shelter after bringing in an animal. And so we've been talking through that. We have a new location to propose to them that's off-site that eliminates that concern on their part altogether. But there are just multiple issues like that we're talking through. And again, part of the challenge here is whatever we come up with in this draft will not only need to be approved by you, but also go back before their board. And as far as services, today, July 7th, we're still operating with APS as we have. We're just really trying to get a contract in place so that you could consider that on the 21st. And Mr. Attorney, do you have anything to add, or did I miss anything about the status?
Not at this point. You summarized it very well, Scott, and I think we plan to meet again later this week to review the contract further in depth.
Right. Just so my fellow board members will know, Scott and I had a conversation last week about the additional funding. And I told him I didn't feel that this board probably had any appetite, to provide any additional funds, APS, because was a 30% increase that we gave them over last year. Close to it, not quite, but close to 30%. And if I spoke out of turn, y'all tell me, but I really don't think the majority of the board wants to spend any more than the 225.
And that's probably the biggest direction that we're looking for this evening. But if you have any other input, please share that with me as a group. And one more thing, and I hadn't called her back. Their attorney called me Saturday, I believe. I wasn't at home, but I was told about the message. But I hadn't returned the call because I want the attorney and the county manager and animal control officer to handle this. I don't think that any of us need to jump in the middle of it. So I'm gonna kind of hands off. When y'all get the contract, y'all bring it to us. It'll be yay or nay, I guess. But I don't think that me personally or any other board member needs to really get involved in the details.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Scott, through y'all's talk and negotiations, and I guess the reason I'm going to this question, I read the email back on, I guess it was Sunday that I received. Well, I think everybody received it. Number 2 in that email stated, they quoted the euthanasia rate. And don't get me wrong, want to give every chance to every animal they can to get them adopted. But it said in there that if the euthanasia rate increased, it would cost them some grants and donations. Do we know what grants they get and how much those grants are? We have their financial information from last July to end year. So we have last year at this time, 6 months of their data. And what we were told about that was that they had some unusually positive donations. So their finances were more flush. And then in the email that you read, Ms. Stephan explained that that's not generally the case, and they're often operating in the red.
And from talking with Dustin and Animal Control, there does appear to be some grants and funding related to those rates. I haven't asked for specific information about that, but I do believe that's true. It's just I don't have the detail of where, their target is on those rates. And I think that email to you partially came from reading the work session minutes. There was a comment in there about only 5 animals, or maybe it was 5 dogs that were euthanized, and that was inaccurate. There are obviously quite a bit more than that during the year, but I don't know what the rates are. If you would like for us to
not
get
the rates. I was just wondering, I'm perfectly fine with the rates. I was just wondering, as far as the grants that are coming in, how much are those grants?
we can ask what more detail about that, if that would be helpful for your decision making.
Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
County Manager Scott, you mentioned, I read the emails about the 5 euthanasians a year.
Yes.
Did you just say that was inaccurate?
Yes, I think that was just a misunderstanding. I don't know if someone said that, and the clerk who is doing those minutes and from the audio and relaying those to us, I don't know if that was misunderstanding from the audio or if someone said that and just wasn't accurate. But the gist of it is that there are quite a few more animals than just 5 annually that are put down.
From the communications you've had with them, what do you, and you may not even know the answer to this, what do you think is their biggest expense or cost of operation? Because as I was reading the email, I was wondering how much euthanasias cost. I don't know, but I was just wondering.
I'm not certain without going, I can look back at the financials. I can forward you those financials that we last year. Be glad to share that.
That's fine. Thank you.
And I do know their operations, are a little bit different than some traditional shelters or other operations in that, for instance, they don't keep the drug that they use to euthanize animals on site. That is an off-site at the vet kind of situation. So, that logistically makes it a little more challenging, I think, for them to, do that as quickly. But as far as what costs are associated with that, I don't know that that's significant.
Thank you.
Any more questions? All right, y'all keep working on it. Maybe we can get us something at the next meeting, hopefully. It's been 20 years since the county's had a
We
contract.
haven't had a contract. I was trying not to say that since
No, it's public
2005.
record.
But, and again, we obviously have maintained a good working relationship. We're just at a point where, I feel strongly we do need a contract in place, and they've had some leadership changes there over the last couple of years. And I think everybody would be more comfortable with a more professional contractual relationship in place.
Agreed. All right. Item 14, K&B Consulting Economic Development Contract. Mr. Whitaker.
So the board had decided to contract with, for economic development assistance, back this spring. I don't think that it was, because I wasn't part of those deliberations or wasn't privy to it. I don't know that it was specifically with K&B Consulting, but it was certainly relayed to me that that was the direction that the board was leaning at the time. And when I say K&B Consulting, that would be Ken Bowman. He, I understand, has come before you in the recent past. Impressed with his economic development experience, and so you were acquainted with his credentials fairly recently. He also serves on the Board of Supervisors, so that's the Board of Commissioners up in Virginia and Pennsylvania County, and he provided the attached document, and that's what I included in your packet. And I'll put up on the screen, these are just some talking points of what he would be looking to do and in terms of if the county were to contract with him. And so this was a one pager, just really that he wanted me to pass along to the board, something that was pretty digestible. And there is a draft contract that we're looking at, and much like the APS contract, if you have any input as to what anything specific that you would like to see in that draft contract before it comes before you, I'll be glad to take that information back to him.
Questions, comments? Russell, are you working on this contract?
Yes, sir. Myself and County Manager Whitaker have worked on this contract. County Manager Whitaker made the suggested revisions in the original agreement, and then I drafted an addendum to the agreement as well, Mr. Chairman. And I think one of the issues falls under paragraph 2 under compensation. Originally, the original contract proposed 20 hours per week up to 400 hours. So we had to clarify that to suggest a minimum of 10 hours per week and a maximum of 25. And then in your addendum, because of the potential or the perceived conflict of interest, we did add language stating that the consultant shall immediately notify the county in the event of a potential conflict of interest between his position with Caswell County and his position as a member of the Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors.
And that change, proposed change on our end related to the hours was in response to some communicated feedback from the chair and vice chair about those hours. I think the gist was that you wanted to make sure that there wasn't a very heavy weeks to where that contract was exhausted up front, but there was regular ongoing part-time effort toward this. Is that a fair way to state it?
We did, I didn't want him personally to work 40 hours a week and then 10 weeks down the road, we've spent all the money we had budgeted.
Right.
And I have to pull the reins back, so to speak. And if there's a hot project going on that we need him 40 hours a week, of course. But, just normal day-to-day operations, he doesn't need to be sitting in the office or going out somewhere 8 hours a day, 5 days a week.
And we are waiting to hear back on that, those proposed changes, but I did speak with him beforehand specifically about that, and he was very much aligned with, he had no intention of, going at it for 40 or 50 hours a week, just to use up his time.
Right. Okay. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Hope?
Number 2 up there, is that a one-time meeting, or is this something that Mr. Smith is handling and we don't know what he's doing?
I'll tell you the way I interpreted it, because I met along with Amy Cannon from the Commissioners Association and Mr. Bowman. And my interpretation of that, of number 2, is because of Commissioner Smith's past involvement with such projects and his position, that he thought that would be a good person to meet with initially and get some data and to be briefed.
So it's an initial meeting.
An initial meeting.
I took it that, I was only economic developer for 6 months altogether, but I took it that he wanted to meet with me and review any open files and then pass on any data that I had in the file cabinet to it. I think it's necessary to do that, but beyond that, I wouldn't want to have it in any other meetings directly unless the board asked me to. Mr. Chair, I did have one comment. I think we need to have a real clear understanding, since he's on the board of supervisors, that if we're contacted, if he's contacted through Caswell County as our economic developer, that we get proprietary information here that needs to stay here and not be shared beyond the state line. We've got the wrong man if he would do that. I'm just saying we need to discuss that either written or have a verbal understanding.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Smith, I believe that is addressed in paragraph 6.2 entitled Non-Disclosure and Non-Use Obligations. And the language states, consultant agrees to protect the confidentiality of all confidential information and is except as permitted in this section, consultant shall neither use nor disclose the confidential information.
Very good. Thank you.
And I will add that he thought it was a fair question as to whether he might have a conflict serving on Pennsylvania County Board of Supervisors. And he had taken the initiative to have, I believe it was that county's attorneys to render an opinion on that. And I did pass that along to our attorney, Johnston, for his review for that.
So you don't see a conflict, Russell?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman, not in the current status. No, sir.
Because that's the only fly in the ointment that came to my mind, was if he sits on the Board of Supervisors of Pennsylvania County, but he's working for Caswell, he doesn't need to, if it's something good for Caswell, he didn't need to go tell them about it in Pennsylvania, and then they wind up with it. Just a simple way to put it.
Yes, sir. And I agree. And that is certainly an important concern. But I think between the language of the confidentiality and the conflict of interest language, I believe we have that covered.
Any other questions?
I would like to see number 2 taken out.
You're talking about number 2 that's up there now, Mr. Holt. Okay.
I feel like that, just like you said a few minutes ago about meeting with the dog pound involved, I feel the same way about him getting in there and we don't know what he's doing or saying.
Okay. If Commissioner Smith would just agree to pass along, and I'm sure he will, any information he had to the open files.
I certainly will.
All right, good enough. Yep. All right, moving on to item 15. New budget year. We already got an amendment. Okay, Scott.
Already, I knew this was coming. Interim manager Pascal had let me know right about the time we were about to adopt the budget that she had mistakenly left out the HR specialist position. This was a position that someone was in until I believe last October or thereabouts. And that person is no longer with the county, but the position was intended to be back in the budget. And it was, I think, just an honest oversight. And she had asked that, or thought I should bring that forward as a budget amendment this month. I spoke with Jonna about this specifically. I also talked with the finance department, who's covering, along with Deputy Manager Williamson, some of our HR duties, just to find out if this position is really needed. And all the feedback was it was absolutely a critical part of HR. And just to remind you, we have a new HR director starting July the 28th. And another reason that I wanted to go ahead and bring this before you, even though you just have passed the budget, is I would like to be able for the HR director who's coming in on the 28th, who knew this position was part of HR, for her to be able to start recruiting and trying to place someone effectively in the position. So what you see there is largely, if you flip over in your packet, you see the justification part. This is from Jonna for the budget amendment. It's for 50,000, and what Jonna had said there at the end was appropriated fund balance is being used as the funding source, but vacancy savings will likely be available to cover the cost at the end of the fiscal year, and then we just build it into next year's budget. So the request is, as you see, for the revenue of line item for 50,000 and the expenditures for 50,000.
All right, gentlemen, you've heard the county manager request on budget amendment number 1 for the R specialist position. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
could
Go ahead.
you give us one moment?
Yes,
please?
sir.
Well, and it is in discussion. That's what I intended. What we were discussing is not asking, well, I had it in the sheet for approval this evening, but it's really for the next meeting because you have your rule about 10,000. So it was to introduce the topic so that you could actually make the motion at the July 21st. And that's what I meant by having it in place for the HR director
You are
when they
correct.
come in on the 28th.
You're correct. That's my oversight. Any questions concerning this matter?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I know we added this position about a year and a half ago. At the time, we felt like it was necessary. We brought somebody in, and I think you were doing a good job. So I still think it's necessary to fill this position. One thing we also talked about a year and a half ago was having online employment applications where we could account for, the EEO, equal opportunities
Mhm.
for the sheriff's department so he could get certain grants and so forth.
Mhm.
So is that something that you're aware of and know where we stand as far as implementing that program? Because I think we ordered software to do that.
I am not aware of that. Maybe our deputy manager could speak to that.
I do remember when we had that conversation because it was for a grant that, from my understanding, that the sheriff's department no longer is receiving, so therefore it is no longer required. We have to meet that requirement, but I do know that the former HR director was putting that in place. Now, as far as, where all that ended up, and I don't know that it actually got implemented. I would have to go back and look, but I do know they were in the process of working on that because the board had approved it because of that particular grant. But I'm pretty sure if I could, double check with the sheriff's department, but that particular grant that required that, they are no longer.
Okay,
It was through GCC.
okay. Okay, but that, at the time, that was a big part of what this person was going to do is to implement that program and monitor that program and, train the department heads to use the program. But at the same time, I think if we have the software, that's something you might want to revisit.
I do think we definitely have a need for HR specialists because I know of no neighboring county or anybody around us that has one person for HR. It is a lot to keep up with. And I know right now because I'm doing a lot, I'm not doing the munis side, but I'm doing all the people side. And it's a lot to keep up with our insurance, workers' comp claims, FMLA, onboarding employees, making sure they have everything they need when they come on, that we're getting the information that they need on the munis side to be sure that they get in and get paid. All the pay changes that come through and job changes that come through in departments, we're required to do it. Posting jobs, it's a lot for one person.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. You'll bring that back to us on the 21st.
Yes,
All right.
sir.
Okay, workers' comp claims, item 16.
And if our deputy manager would just keep the mic, please.
Okay. We received an invoice from our local EMS for a claim that had been turned in on workers' comp. So I reached out to Charles D'Angelo, who is the manager of client services for Sedgwick, to see why we would have been invoiced any amount due to a workers' comp claim. The actual invoice was $1,294.50 for the EMS transport, and Sedgwick paid $906.15, which left a remaining balance of $388.35. And he informed me that there's a fee schedule for all services in North Carolina that is set by the NCICC. So when a bill is not paid in full, it is normally due to this. So I guess our amount for that particular service was outside of what that particular fee schedule would pay. So I went on to ask how would we handle this. And he said that normally if a county is using their own services, such as their own county EMS or their own health clinic, most of them will absorb those charges when it relates to workers' comp injury. And the reason that is the case is because if they end up paying out this additional $388.35 for us, then in return it's used for a portion of your experience rate module calculation, which makes our workers' comp in the end run go up more. So I asked Barry, the director of EMS, about this, and he said, of course, they don't have any authority without the board to discuss what can be done with claims. So then I for us to for the county to write this off, because in turn we're just turning around and almost like paying ourselves and making our that particular modular calculation rate go up for us. And we also, when we were having that discussion, thought, well, we would check with Jonna Sharp to be sure that it wouldn't mess us up anyway with our audits or reporting. And she said it would not, and that she thought it made sense for us to write this particular claim off. But we need I don't know, do we need a motion or a consensus?
If the board is in agreement, then we would just need a motion from the board to approve the write-off staff to implement such.
Question is, does this need to become a policy? Or is this going to be handled on a case-by-case basis?
We talked about that a bit initially, and I think they're so few and far between. We felt like it could be handled on a case-by-case basis.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
there's no type, EMS doesn't have any type code where they could code this when they have this transport. 'Cause basically, I'm kind of like you. The way I'm saying is EMS is charging the county, and we're the ones going to be paying it anyway. I mean, especially being a workman's comp.
Right. I did run this by John Yarbrough today. And, was just talking about that we had that coming up and that I may be reaching out to either he or Barry to let them know that we may need some help on getting this corrected. And he was kind of in agreement too, that this is something that they would help us with and had no issue, if we needed to write it off, but they were willing to work with us any way they can. Because I had thought about it, I said, like he and I were discussing, maybe if it was a workers' comp claim, that they wouldn't bill, but there is a payment that gets paid back, I guess, to the EMS service. it's just anything that's over the amount that the NCIC calculation fee schedule rate is, that's the part that we definitely wouldn't want to pay. Because, that makes our rate go up and we're
Right.
turning around like paying ourselves.
Right.
But they seem very agreeable, at EMS to work with us any way possible. But, they said they just do not have the authority to make these decisions, and I understand that.
Thank you.
Any more questions? So do we need a motion tonight, or is this something we need to take up at the next meeting?
If we can make a motion tonight, because it really is something that's kind of went on and needs to be taken care of as soon as possible, if the board so chooses, it would be great.
Not
if we could.
exceeding our imposed spending limits, so. Motion tonight would be appropriate, Mr. Attorney.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Do we have a motion to, I guess, just write this off, lack of a better term?
Yeah, it's right there, $388.35. Yeah, I guess that would be it, yeah.
So, Mr. Chairman, if the board is so inclined, then the appropriate motion would be for you would need a motion to approve the county writing off the EMS bill in the amount of $385.
Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Have a motion from Commissioner Rose,
Second.
second from Commissioner Smith. Any discussion? All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. All right, the formation of the County Caswell Safety Committee. Mr. Whitaker.
So given our recent Department of Labor inspections and OSHA inspections and that pending report, and by the way, those employee interviews were completed today, the second round of those. I seriously believe we need a strong reboot of the safety committee. I've mentioned that to you already, but wanted to be sure to get it on this as a discussion topic on this agenda, in hopes to have a slate of a new committee before you for the July 21st meeting. I need a little more time within our committee ordinance to go through and see what all is needed in terms of the formation of a new committee. I'm not sure how long it's been since the county has formed a new committee, so I just want to make sure that I have everything lined up per our policy for that. And I will be bringing that before you. If you have any kind of initial development feedback, I do have ideas of largely the positions or the folks that I would like committee, but don't have that slate fully compiled yet, but open to any suggestions initially.
Any questions, gentlemen? If you have any comments, something you would like to see this committee handle, or who you'd like to see on the committee, just get with the county manager and have a discussion with him. All right. Moving on down to appointments and reappointments. Go ahead, Scott. You take off with these.
Okay, so the first one is for the Tourism Development Authority, Mindy Stenner, and she is, these will all actually be reappointments for your consideration. So what you have in the packet is her application, the roster for the current TDA, and the Citizen Advisory Board policy. And I put this in here once so you could reference it for the following two. And as always with board appointments, that's completely at or committee appointments or at the board's discretion.
All right. Do I have a motion to reappoint Mindy Stenner to the Tourism Development Authority Board?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Smith,
Second.
second from Commissioner Totten. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries.
And clarification, that would be for a 3-year term.
3 years.
Yep.
All right.
So the next one you have, item 19, is a Board of Health, Shannon Moretz, and that is also a reappointment. You have her application and the roster before you.
All right, do I have a motion to reappoint?
So move.
I have a motion from Commissioner Claggett,
Second.
second from Commissioner Rose. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries.
And item 20 is Farmer Lake Advisory Board. This is a reappointment of Benny Beggerly. You have her application and the roster. And I do have a question about this one for you that I'm hoping someone can give me some insight into. So our policy in reference to committee appointments generally dictates 3-year terms. There are a couple, at least with this one, that in the roster itself. So what I was left by the previous clerk was a singular document that has all the rosters put together. So I've been going through that, updating that since I've been here. And on this particular committee, it says there's a 4-year term, and I'm not understanding where that 4 years coming from, if there's something I'm missing within our policy, or if that's a mistake in the roster. I just wondered if anybody has any insight before you make this appointment.
I do not. Does any other board members have any clue? Is everything else 3 years and this is 4?
This is 4, and I'd have to go through there. There may be one other committee or board in the directory that also says 4. And if you look in your packet there, and this is page 107 at the top, it shows you the Farmer Lake Board, and it says 4-year terms. And I asked the committee about that and talking about these reappointments, and I don't think anybody was sure there. I suspect it's a mistake, and everything should be 3-year terms, but I would like to get that straightened out. And before, when you make the motion for consideration on this, I just want clarity of what I'm going to put in the roster. It's a 4-year term or a 3-year term.
Mr. Attorney, how do we go about changing that if the board so chooses, if we want to?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I was going to speak from experience being on the planning board. That's typically 5-year term.
Oh,
So,
okay.
We could search the county's rules and procedures and maybe the code of ordinance to see how it's addressed. And I'll be glad to research the general statutes, but I believe it's in the board's discretion for the most part, whether or not you want 3, 4, or 5-year term. But I'll be glad to research that for you.
All right. If you don't mind, just dig into that a little bit and
Yes, sir.
understand. But can we go ahead and appoint Benny Baggerly for this reappoint?
Yes, sir.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Appoint.
Motion approved.
Motion from Commissioner Rose, second from Commissioner Ingram. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Okay, time for updates. We'll start with the county manager.
So a few things, just a quick update from last evening's flooding. Several roads were obviously flooded, washed out, some trees were down, a few affecting power lines from emergency services and communications. They said their power shortages weren't widespread. And there was some very serious flooding that you're probably all aware of at Hyco Lake. Just thanks to all of our emergency personnel, sheriff's office, DOT, volunteer fire departments for all of their work. As the chair mentioned, there was a lot of work through the night. And I was told that the problems were mostly concentrated in the Anderson, Prospect Hill, and Leesburg areas. And also wanted to mention, I did send you an email, but for the public's benefit, the reason there was a financial report in this packet is it wasn't ready because of, due to the timing that's normally, I was told by finance, has been in the regular session packet, so that would be 21st. Is that correct? That's when you've normally got it once a month?
As long as we get it once a month.
Okay, all right. And then also, as I sent you an email, the latest target for our 24 audit to be complete is by the end of August. So at least we have, you know, a little more finality toward, at least toward, in reference to that target. And are excited about our HR director starting on July 28th. And that's all I have this evening.
All right, Mr. Attorney.
I have no updates, Mr. Chairman.
All right, commissioner updates. We'll start with you, Mr. Holt. Mr. Totten.
Nope.
Mr. Smith.
A couple of things. You hit on the audit. That's one thing I was going to ask you about. The other thing is, have you heard anything from the city of Danville concerning the water sewer agreement for the Pelham Park? as to
I
how
have
that's-
not. I immediately had forwarded that, you know, the result of the last meeting, and I'll be glad to follow up with Mr. Larkin tomorrow on that.
Okay. All right. And the final thing is, I think a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we talked about taking the land sale revenues and moving into a capital budget for additional land acquisition or what have you. Has that been, you was going to research that? I think.
I have some more information that's, I would say, very positive about that being a good move to make. I wasn't prepared tonight to share that with you, but I can at the next meeting.
Okay, because I understand, I mean, we've probably got some expenditures coming up. One thing I know we've got to talk about putting a road in for access to the sewer pump. And, you know, possibly those monies could come out of this fund if the board saw fit to do so. So,
Yes, I know we have quotes on that, and Mr. Hayes continues to give me updates on those quotes. So we've got kind of two components, all the grading work there and then the gravel. And I believe that ballpark, don't hold me to that, it's going to come in somewhere around 23 to 24,000 total.
Commissioner Rose.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Couple of things. I had the privilege of attending the July 4th fireworks event that was held over here at the pavilion. There was a great turnout. I think Commissioner Claggett did see him there. I did see Commissioner Ingram. There may be somebody I didn't see, but it was a good turnout that day. Just glad everybody got to come out. I also would, and I don't know if this is appropriate time to do it or not, but I just would like for everybody to keep the Dabbs family in your thoughts and prayers. They lost Tony Dabbs, who was a fireman here in the county for many, many years. He also he served on the Southern Caswell Ruitans, and he did a lot of stuff for Special Olympics when they had that at the school, and he will be missed. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Ingram. Mr. Claggett.
Yes, sir. There's an ongoing issue with this board's public meeting minutes. At our last meeting, I mentioned the issue of board consensus results not being accurately recorded. Happened again. At my orientation, it was explained that to me that a lady in Durham transcribes our minutes. The June 2nd, 2025 minutes we approved on June 16th have not been posted. Gentlemen, that's unacceptable. On January 6th, Manager Pashal stated, North Carolina General Statute 153A-111 required the board to appoint a clerk to the board or designate another position to serve as clerk. At that time, she noted that minutes preparation had been contracted to Michelle Parker Evans until the county hired a new clerk. A motion was made. It was seconded, and the motion carried unanimously. On April 22nd, the county announced on social media the appointment of a new manager effective April 28th. Nowhere did it mention anything about the added responsibility regarding a clerk to the board. Gentlemen, these behaviors are extremely reminiscent of the past behaviors that led us to our current financial situation. Why were the minutes preparation contracted out? Was our current manager / clerk made aware of the action taken on January 6th? I'm of the opinion he wasn't. Does an appearance of conflict exist with both positions held by the same person? I would think most of you on this board know one of our responsibilities is to provide direction for the administration of county government and ensure efficient operations of services. I would like to recommend all board consensus results and all open PowerPoint presentations, as well as minutes preparation, be completed locally and made public in a reasonable time frame as per general statutes. 3 weeks is far from reasonable. And again, I reiterate, North Carolina public meeting minutes are considered legal documents. That's all I have.
Thank you, gentlemen. Only thing I have concerning yesterday and last night's storm event, however we want to word it, I did receive a call from Congressman Brad Knott's office this afternoon wanting to know if the county was in need of any federal assistance. So I'll pass that along to you, Scott. If you come up with a list of things, I have this guy's contact number, also have Congressman Knott's personal cell phone number. We can get in touch with him if we need to. So, all right. Upcoming events, July the 10th, 17th, 24th, and 31st. Farmers Market here in town. The 15th of the month, Board of Adjustment meeting, County Park Road. The 21st, we will have another commissioners meeting here in the historic courthouse. 22nd, Planning Board meeting at the library, August 4th. Be our next, not our next, but the first meeting in August. And the 5th is National Night Out, Parks and Rec Facility. All right, closed session. To consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege as provided under General Statute 143-318.11 subsection A3, and consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment, or conditions of initial employment of an employee as provided under NCGS 143-318.11 subsection A, section 6. Do I have a motion that we go into closed session?
So moved.
Have a motion from Commissioner Rose, second Commissioner Ingram. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We set in closed session.